I spent all of last summer sailing around the Mediterranean while working on a cruise ship. Hi, if you're new to the channel, my name is Krista and I am a dancer and I work on cruise ships. On my most recent contract on the Enchantment of the Seas, we spent 6 months sailing around the Mediterranean, going to over 25 different ports. So if I were to go back to any of these places again, whether on my own or on a ship, these would be my top 5. I'm gonna share with you guys some tips and tricks, things you should know before you go, what you should do there, and why I love these places so much. So let's get into it. Port number 1 is Kotor, Montenegro. Kotor is simply one of the most beautiful places I have ever been to, and so different than anywhere else I'd ever been. When you sail in and out, you have to go through the Bay of Kotor, and so you're surrounded by tall mountains on either side. The water is a beautiful blue, and it just feels like you're sailing into some sort of like fairy tale world. Kotor is a tender port and it's a pretty short ride, but again, the views are stunning, so it's probably the best tender ride I've ever taken. When you get off the tender, it's a short walk to the walled city of the Kotor Old Town, which is considered one of the best preserved medieval parts of the Med. In my opinion, here's the perfect way to spend a day in Kotor. You're first gonna start with a morning hike up to the fortress that overlooks the old town. The hike is about 30 to 40 minutes, yeah?
Something like that, yeah.
And it's a lot of steps. We had a show last night, so we're all kind of exhausted, but like this is the start of the hike, so it's only gonna get better. It does cost 8 euros to do the hike, but trust me, it is worth it. On the way up, you'll pass the Church of Our Lady of Remedy, and you'll likely see many cats, and you'll want to stop a lot to take in the views. Once at the top, you'll see the ruins of the fortress. Kotor has had a long and kind of complex history, including many occupations before they were finally liberated in World War II. And so the fortress has been restructured and expanded many times throughout its history. Okay, so we made it to the top. It was mostly stairs. I think it's like 1,300 steps or something like that. It's very hot out, we're very sweaty, but it was definitely worth it. These views are amazing. These mountains are so gorgeous. And they go down and get some food, maybe a bevy. I feel like we kind of deserve a beverage now. But yeah, glad we did it, even though it's literally scorching. After the hike, you'll end right in the old town, where you can honestly spend the rest of your day just exploring the shops, restaurants, cathedrals, and palaces. There's so much to see. For lunch, I recommend our favorite spot called Resto Bar Taraka. It's only 2 minutes outside of the walls, and you get this view on your way there. And if you need a drink after that hike, I suggest the Nitrox. They have really delicious cocktails. They're super unique and just a perfect way to end a hike, in my opinion. The views in Kotor are enough to make me want to go back over and over again. And I know that there is so much more to see in Montenegro, so I hope to go back and spend a week there sometime soon. Port number 2 is Rome, Italy.
We're in Rome.
Now, the only slight issue with this port is that the ship actually docks in a town called Civitavecchia, which is about an hour train ride from Rome. You will still have enough time to take the train from Civitavecchia though. And it is pretty easy to get to the train station. You will have to take a shuttle out of the port, and then we took a tuk-tuk from the drop-off point to the train station.
Okay, this morning has been insane. We weren't allowed to get off the ship originally because we had to get this like pass. And then we finally got it, and then the buses were crazy. We couldn't figure out the buses. We finally got on a bus, and now we're in a tuk-tuk going to the train station so we can go into Rome. It's crazy. It's just crazy.
It's very romantic, yeah.
I also suggest downloading the Trainline app, where you can purchase your tickets ahead of time. There's gonna be a lot of people at the train station, most likely, so if you can have them on your phone, you can just walk in, get right on the train. Now, of course, there is so much to see and do in Rome, and that's why I suggest having a couple of extra days, either at the beginning or the end of your cruise, if possible, but if not, you can still see a lot in one day. So here are a few of my top spots that I would try to hit on my first time in Rome. First up is Trastevere. This is a trendy and fun neighborhood with amazing bars, restaurants, and shopping. We also saw a lot of art and live music while we were here too. And it's especially a lively place at night. So if you do spend a few days in Rome, definitely check it out in the evening. It's just a perfect place to get lost in the small alleyways, especially with a to-go spritz in hand. Next up is the Vatican. If you decide to go inside, this will likely take up most of your day, but I will say it is totally worth it. I went inside in 2018 when I visited Rome, and the Sistine Chapel is truly magical. But if you don't want to go in because, you know, you're on a time crunch, I would definitely say it's still worth it to see it from the outside. You know, you can really appreciate the architecture and just the sheer size of the Vatican. Next up is the Colosseum, of course, one of the most popular things to see and do in Rome, and it is truly amazing. I think it's definitely worth it to go in. Again, in 2018 when I was there, I went in, so I have no footage from that trip, unfortunately. I wasn't vlogging yet, but I did go in and I did feel like it was worth it. But even if you just want to see it from the outside and get a couple photos, it is so impressive. Next up is, of course, the Trevi Fountain. This is a pit stop that will really not take a lot of your time out of your day. It gets crazy crowded, but people are usually good about taking turns so you can get your photo, get in, and get out. But it is very cool to see. A short walk from the Trevi Fountain is the Pantheon. You can go inside and probably only spend, 15 to 20 minutes here looking at the art and just taking in the huge size of this former Roman temple. And then I did want to mention a few of our favorite spots for food that we liked. Tonarello in Trastevere is a very popular and delicious spot. Big Friends is another one that we really enjoyed. I think I found that on TikTok and was happy to have found it. And then, oh God, I don't know, Il Regno d'Oro, I don't speak Italian, sorry, has a special place in our hearts because we went for our 1st and 5th year anniversary, and so yeah, just a special place to us, and it's delicious. And I did want to mention, for all activities, I would suggest buying everything ahead of time. I've used things like Viator for a lot of my tours, or just directly through the website for whatever the activity is. Planning ahead and having, skip the line and things like that definitely will make things go a little bit smoother, because a lot of these things, there'll be lines out the door trying to get in, so book ahead. Port number 3 is Zakynthos, Greece. If you want to live your Mamma Mia dreams and swim in the most stunning water in Greece, then Zakynthos is the place. This is another tender port like Kotor, but again, you won't be complaining when you see how blue this water is. It's so beautiful. When you get off the ship, you'll be in a small town that has a lot of cute shopping and some really yummy food and drink options, but my suggestion is to go to one of the stands selling boat tours and have a day on the water. We spent less than $40 each for a full boat day where we saw turtles, swam in caves, we snorkeled, and we just had the most stunning views, and it was really like something out of a movie. Some other places around Zakynthos as well. As a crew member, we didn't have as much time as the guests did, so we didn't have time to venture, super far out from the port, but this was about a 30-minute drive and it was amazing. I would do it over and over again. I think we did it twice during our contract. It's just one of those days that just feel surreal when you're swimming in these crystal clear waters, looking up at these, rock formations. It's just such an amazing way to spend a day. We also stopped at one of the stores in the town and grabbed food and drinks, and we brought that on the boat with us. And then one of the times we stopped at one of the islands where they had a little stand that they were selling food and drinks as well. So it's just a special day, and I recommend it to anyone. All right, moving right along to port number 4, Livorno, Italy. Okay, so the actual port of Livorno is not great, but it's kind of a gateway city to a lot of other places in Italy. 2 of those places being Pisa and Florence. Getting out of the port is kind of similar to Rome and Civitavecchia, where you have to take a shuttle and then either a bus or a taxi to the train station, or you can walk, but again, you'll want to save time. So it's pretty simple once you get out of the port, but it can take a little bit of extra time. And then once you get to the train station, it is so easy to get to wherever you want to go. If you want to go to Pisa, it's only about a 20-minute train ride and then either a 20-minute walk or a 10-minute taxi to the Leaning Tower.
Good morning, actually good afternoon from the Leaning Tower.
Good day.
And then when you get to the Leaning Tower of Pisa, you can go inside. I never did. If you don't go inside, it's a relatively short time at the tower. You're gonna see it and be like, wow, that's really cool. And then be like, okay, let's go get lunch. So it's a short kind of excursion, but I definitely think it's something iconic and fun to go see. And of course, you have to get your photo. After you see the tower, whether you go in or not, the town is really cute. You can stop by, you know, for some shopping and food and drinks. We got some really yummy gnocchi and of course, a spritz. And then if you decide not to go to Pisa, I suggest going to Florence. This is about an hour-and-a-half train ride, so definitely a little bit farther from Pisa, so it's gonna depend on how long your port day is. But if you can go to Florence, I highly suggest it. Once you get off the train, you're pretty much right in the city, and it's less than a 10-minute walk to the Duomo. You can spend a lot of time here looking at street art, admiring the architecture, or doing some shopping. We also went and saw the David, which was really cool to see in person. This museum also houses the largest collection of Michelangelo's sculptures and also has a large collection of paintings and musical instruments. And of course, we couldn't pass up a famous wine window. I don't know, wine people? The guy was like, "Who's there?" And I was like, "Wine people?" And I think about that like once a week now. I was so awkward. Why am I so awkward? There are so many things to see and do in Florence, and I would love to go back one day and spend a little bit more time there. There's, you know, so many ways to get around Italy, especially from Florence. You can go to Tuscany. So yeah, I hope to one day be back there. And for our last port number 5, Santorini, Greece. I'll be honest, when I first came to Santorini, I wasn't sure if it was gonna live up to my expectations. You know, you see it all over social media, you see it in movies, and it kind of just felt like it was too good to be true. But let me tell you, it is one of the most amazing places ever, and there is truly nowhere else like it. And that's why everybody loves it so much, and I get it now. It can definitely get crowded in the summer months, especially when you come by ship. Sometimes there can be 4 or 5 big ships in at once, which makes it crazy. Just getting into the town can be a struggle because first you have to take a tender to the bottom of the mountain, and then you can get in line for the cable car, which is €6, and the lines can be super long. We had some days where it was insane and others where we got really lucky. So it just kind of depends, but when the line was super long, we opted to walk the donkey path. You do have to avoid some donkey poop on your walk up, and it can get a little bit slippery, but it only takes about 45 minutes to walk up. So if you're feeling adventurous and you don't want to wait in line for the cable car, take the walk up. And so once you get up there, you're in the town of Fira, and a lot of people opt to just spend the day there, which, don't get me wrong, it's stunning. There's a lot to do, lots of shopping, lots of restaurants, and the views are so amazing that, you know, you really can't go wrong. But I highly recommend renting a quad or a car and getting out and seeing the whole island. It's really not that big, so you can see a lot of it in a short amount of time. We did this multiple times when we were visiting, and a car was only like €80 a day at most during the high season. It's cheaper than getting a taxi to and from anywhere else. So it just makes sense to rent a car. If you're feeling a little bit nervous about that, trust me, the roads in Santorini are very straightforward. There's one that goes all the way around the island. They drive on the right side of the road if you're from the US, Canada, you know, anywhere that drives on the right side of the road, so you don't have to worry about that. It definitely wasn't scary. So here are some of my top recommendations for Santorini. In the morning, I would head to the town of Kamari. This is a cute little area right on the water where you can walk around, grab breakfast. One of our favorite spots was called the Finch. It had really great food, and it's just a beachfront area, really nice, just a cute place to explore for a little while. If you're a wine lover like us, definitely hit a few wineries. Santorini is home to some of the oldest vineyards in the world, and I personally loved all of the ones that we tried. A couple of my favorites, one of them was our Euros, I believe that's how you say it, and they had tours of their winery, and they also had a really great food pairing option, which I love a snack with my wine, if you know what I mean. So definitely loved it there. The views were amazing. And then Santo Wines, they have the most insane view. Honestly, if you can get in at sunset, it is incredible. I could spend all day there. It was amazing. And then of course, you're gonna wanna go to the town of Ia, which is famous for the blue domes. This area can get very crowded, but it's great to stop by. You can maybe grab lunch. We went to a place called Karma. The food was delicious, very cute restaurant if you need a recommendation. But if you did rent a car, I would say you can pop into Ia, walk around for a little while, and then hop back in the car, because it is gonna be pretty packed if there's a lot of ships there. And then close to Ia is Amudi Bay, where you can cool off in the summer and take a swim. You know, you can jump from this platform, you can swim, you can tan, all of it. It's just a really stunning little area to cool off. And then you can also head to a beach club. There's a ton of them in Santorini. We went to one called Theros Wave Bar. It was gorgeous, they had great drinks, and it was just a perfect place to swim and hang out for a little while. And it honestly felt like we were transported somewhere totally different. Like, it looked like the moon or something. I don't know, it just didn't look like anywhere else in Santorini, and so finding this place was kind of a fun little adventure. And then don't remember, you do have to take either the cable car or the donkey path back down to get back onto the tender, so make sure that you give yourself ample time to get back to the ship as well. Also, top tip, there was a place called the Boozery right by the where the cable car is, so definitely grab a little boozery drink and take it on the walk down. That's what we did a couple times, and it made the walk a lot better, not gonna lie.
Okay, we decided we needed takeaway cocktails for the walk down. Instead of taking the cable car, we're gonna walk the donkey path.
And there it is, my 5 favorite places in the Med that we went to on my last contract. It was really hard to pick only 5 out of the, 30, whatever it was that we went to, because the Mediterranean is just incredible. If you work on ships, you know that going to the Med is one of like the dream itineraries that people want, and so I feel so lucky to have been able to spend 6 months in the Med and really get to know these places, and yeah, just feel so lucky. And so I hope this video gave you guys a little bit of an idea of maybe what kind of cruise you want to go on, where you want to go, and what to look out for when you're gonna go on a cruise to the Med. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, subscribe, do all the things, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.